when do we say that? All right, well, this is now my responsibility. If the end game is not marriage, because it isn't for more and more people. They're not
If
trying to get married.
if the end game is marriage, then you're responsible once that becomes the end game, in my opinion. If the end game is to just be two people that are sexually monogamous and travel buddies that live together, then that's a you're a contractor. That's a 10-day contract in NBA, right? You're not
So,
you renew that shit every month when you pay the bills. That's not a long-term commitment.
but maybe it is.
And I think that's the problem with a lot of men is that they really don't date women that are useful.
So
She
that's
needs
fair.
to be useful. You know what I'm saying?
That's
But
super
the
fair.
way I look at it is like if we are in a relationship and we are married and you are the head of the household and I'm trusting you lead and something needs to be handled and at the moment I have the funds to do it, great. I'm gonna step up and I'm gonna take care of it. However, I'm already depleting a part of my income that you didn't have. So what you're gonna do as a leader to put us in a position that when this situation happen again, how about if I don't have it? Then who's going to solve the problem if you're the leader? So it needs to have some sort of like, leadership that man is not going to continue to put us in a financial bind and expect me to bail him out because that's not a leader.
So it's very different when you're married to when you're dating. I've been married and I've fucked up a bag, and my wife at the time had to cover where I was short briefly. And then, I was recouped and whatever. But that's just certain things, right? Like when Bo asked the question, she was like, "You never had a woman get your car fixed?" Fuck no. Because I'm thinking like, have I ever had her take, and go get my tire changed or go get the supercharger or whatever. Like, anything done to my car has always been a man thing, right? And I keep my women in equitable positions in our relationships. So it's not something that my woman would do. However, if I'm married to someone and I'm short, obviously the default would be that my spouse would cover it, right? At a girlfriend level, I'm not expecting her to do that. If she offers to what True said, though, like if she offers, that's awesome. That is a very, very, very solid woman, right? No issue with that. The thing is this simply. If you had told your husband to go figure it out and you didn't have the money, you couldn't, he would have went and figured it out. But you didn't tell him that because you thought that what you're supposed to do. Most men are going around here figuring shit out every day. There are people in the chat right now that are figuring out how they're gonna make rent in 4 days. Right now, as we speak, they coming up with a plan of how they do it. Right. That doesn't mean that they don't have somebody else they can go to. They couldn't go get a loan. They couldn't go, whatever. It's that they are just trying to figure it out themselves. When you're in a relationship, it's safe to be interdependent on your partner, so you don't have to figure it out yourself. You figure it out together.
You
highlighted.
I don't know about y'all, but when it comes to like money, I almost would never ask my woman for no fucking money. I would never ask her to get my car fixed, even if I didn't have no money. I'll figure it out. Now it might be a situation where like, if it's that bad, then yeah, I might ask her and I'll pay you back. I'll make sure you get, I'll get it back to you. But like, that's just one thing. I'd rather borrow your car before I ask you for money to get. I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm maybe it's a toxic masculinity in me. But like,
to be fair, he didn't ask me. He didn't ask me. I came home from work and was like, "Let's go pick your car." I had already paid for it, so he didn't ask me. He had no idea I was going to do that.
See,
and that nigga wouldn't get your tire changed. He hated you. That man hated you. Oh my God, that man hated your
or pamper
gut.
you or do something special.
Bo, who drove to get to the car dealership? Well, the mechanic who drove the car.
She probably drove him.
He was in the passenger seat?
I went home, like on my way from work. I went and paid for it. Went home and got him and took him to get his car.
So you went back. He was in the passenger seat. So that's crazy. I don't like none of that. I don't like nothing about that. Like you paid for my car.
That's what I was saying.
This is the second time y'all telling somebody don't like somebody. I just want y'all to know, y'all. I'm starting to.
Leave Bo alone. Y'all leave Bo alone. Like you're not about the big money me. Like I didn't. That's some shit I do. Like you ain't gotta worry about it. Listen, I paid for the car. You don't gotta worry about it. I already did it on the way home. Like you good. Like, come hop in the passenger seat. I'm gonna take you to get it. Like, come, don't even ask me. Like, yo, come on, your car done. Nah, don't worry about it. It's finished.
I mean, y'all ain't praying hard enough. I ain't found a man like that yet.
And I think I'm glad that we use the example of the car. It's hyperbolic. It typically most people's car engine ain't exploding. But my point is that it seems to still be somewhat of a disconnect. Respect to men like Mont, Willie, myself, even Trev, that we operate on higher standards just from us, right? But typical men, I'm still trying to figure out what that's gonna look like on their level. What can they really facilitate? What can they do? And then what can they expect? Because basically what I've concluded from what even Bo said and Willie said, if we're not married, then our expectations should look vastly different. If you're my girlfriend, we rocking, and something catastrophic happens, how dare I look your way? How dare I even ask for assistance?
It's not how dare you look his way. It's just that as a wife, she has a duty to help. That's the part. There's a biblical legal obligation she should have a vested interest in your future. Dating someone I don't believe in if you're single, if you're not married, you're single shit. But when you're dating someone, there's certain duties that just aren't inherent unless they agree to them.
Okay, so let's pull that back. Is that the sentiment of how most women see dating, from them being the woman in the equation? Because they
think that men are supposed to do a husband shit. Yeah, I got you. I knew you was going with that one.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, no.
So if we're going into that, right? Because for some people, marriage is not the end game, right? Some people would prefer to be a perpetual girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. Not everybody has that same sentiment of, the sanctity of marriage is not for everyone, right? So is there a time period or something that you would recognize? Is it when you're cohabitating? When do we say that, all right, well, this is now my responsibility? If the end game is not marriage, because it isn't for more and more people. They're not trying to get married.
If the end game is marriage, then you're responsible once that becomes the end game, in my opinion. If the end game is to just be two people that are sexually monogamous and travel buddies that live together, so then you're a contractor. That's a 10-day contract in NBA, right? You're not. So you renew that shit every month when you pay the bills. That's not a long-term commitment.
But maybe it is. What should we minimize it because some people don't believe in?
There has to be something that will solidify or signify the commitment, and just your choice isn't that. It has to be something that requires you and puts a duty for you to commit to that thing, like a contract. And in the absence of a contract, there is no commitment. Excuse me, there is no binding commitment. I apologize. So you and your girl can say, "Hey, listen, we love each other, but we don't never want to get married, so it's how we're gonna rock out," right? That's the plan now. But there is nothing governing that contract. So that contract is just two people having a conversation and every day waking up and choosing to carry out the agreement. 2 years from now, you can be like, she can be like, what? I do want to be a wife, and you're vehemently against it. Now the contract is you have to renegotiate terms. And since there was no contract to hold each other to, y'all just both part ways. There's nothing that either one of you guys can do to each other. You can say, well, you told me you was cool fucking and taking trips and all the other shit, but now you want to be a wife. Like, things change. And what contracts do, commitments do, when you say commemorate them on paper, is they have terms and conditions that are agreed to by both parties. And that's the type of commitment you'd have to have in these relationships before you could expect someone to have a duty to fulfill towards you or on your behalf.
I do believe that within dating, let's say that the end game of dating for the most part is for people just to today be in a committed relationship, eventually marriage. I think the marriage solidity depends on how the trajectory of the dating happens, because for the most part, behavior is a language. So if you start seeing things within the dating and you guys have issues communicating and solving problems together, what make you believe that the marriage is going to be any better? So people that chose to ignore the red flags within the dating is setting themselves a failure within marriage.
I had a question for Bo. I want you to try to be as honest as you can, right? Try to like look inside and see
You
if you
calling
can.
me a
It's
liar?
not personal though. No, it's just something that a person, human beings might tend to not want to see certain things. But when you were in that past relationship, and all of those things that you did for your man, realistically, do you think that caused you to treat him differently and talk to him differently? Like, do you think that throughout that relationship, when you got an attitude, it was, oh, okay.
No, I don't make differences. Like, I don't have less respect for a man because he makes less than me. I don't have less respect for a man because he needs me to do something for him. I
I'm
have
not
less
saying that.
respect for,
I'm not saying that, but the fact that maybe you do in general, you do more than him than he does for you,
No,
than he does for him.
no,
Okay.
I don't. I don't make that, like, I don't think that I can treat you any type of way just because I do more for you. Then that would mean that I'm not doing that with a pure heart. Like, I do that purely because that's just who I am. And so after a while, I'm like noticing that there is no reciprocity. I'm noticing
Mhm.
that you don't do these things. And so I might mention it, but there is no change in my attitude because that's just not who I am. I will just leave.
Got you. So
I
you
just
were
left.
okay. So you were like graceful the entire time until you left. Never looked down on him at
No,
all. At no point. Okay, cool.
no, not the only thing that I would say made me do that was that whole house issue. That whole, like, you're not stepping up and doing the things that you need to do, and not in money, but just in effort. You see what I'm saying?
Got you.
But that that was like, you're not helping me get us where we need to be. I'm doing this by myself. But I also did not talk to him any old type of way. Like, because that's just not who I am. Like, I don't talk to men sideways like that. Like, I talk to, like, people like the homeless dude in the comment. I don't talk to men that I'm dating like that.
Okay. Cool.
Now, for Bo, how long would you would you say you were in a substantial amount of time into a courtship or relationship with this man before you marry him?
I don't really want to keep dissecting my relationship. Like,
Okay.
bringing up stuff as an example, cool, but I don't want to keep constantly dissecting because the
The
people in the
only
comments
reason,
completely
and
different.
I don't, no pun intended, I didn't mean to offend you or getting
Are
into
you
your
good?
business like that. I'm just saying that sometimes because, and it's, I have sisters and I see them, and then there's sometimes because they are such a love girl. They oversee certain things that they were in front of them. And then when reality hits, then everything goes like, like in retrospective, they look back and this is like, oh, I miss all the signs that this person never appreciate me the way that I should have. And then you end up finding yourself compensating and, and overgiving, trying to keeping the balance in the relationship. And
Uh,
so I'm just saying that if you were aware that maybe you were overgiving, and then when you realized, that's when you decided that was not the marriage for you.
no. For all intents and purposes, everything was fine. Everything that I examined um, prior to getting married was something that I could deal with in the marriage because we don't hope that things get better. We take them at face value. That's how things are going to be. They may be slightly worse because that's just how things are. Um, but that's why I can't advocate for waiting until marriage. Don't live with your partner before you get married. Live with them.
Absolutely. I believe in that too.
Live with them and have sex with them. Because taking out those two is a recipe for disaster. I am living proof of such things. Waiting and not living with. So please don't do that. So for all intents and purposes, everything was everything, right? Until you live with them, until all of these other things have happened. So whatever.
Yeah, I was raised in purity culture, and let me tell you, like growing up and become a young wife, it was the hardest thing because I literally went blindfolded. So yeah.
I have a question for the ladies. Do men be really letting y'all drive them around in cars?